Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I just left the RV dealership and I am officially 12,000 pounds heavier than when I arrived. I recorded on the way up an unladen MPG run, gave some updates. So if you didn't catch that previous video, I'll put a card up above. But today's video is all about what is it like with a gas, that's right, a gas HD truck pulling 12,000 pounds. It's a fifth wheel, by the way. What is it like? You know, for the last 2 years, I've been advocating gas HD trucks, specifically here with my GMC Sierra. It's a 2500 HD, model year 2024. It has the L8T, the 6.6 liter gas V8. And I have been advocating that it's just a great vehicle, a great truck, great engine, especially if you're a weekend warrior. And I'm launching a new weekend warrior series. But for the last 2 years, I've just been towing a relatively small 6,000 pound travel trailer. And so now I've got double the weight behind me. And the big question is, am I going to have any regrets? And for those curious, right after I left the dealership, I went straight to a weigh station, to a cat scale, and weighed myself because I was just curious, you know, how much with the pin weight and really just the overall weight, where I was at. I'm going to talk about that in a future video, so definitely make sure you're subscribed. But the good news is, obviously I'm not overweight, but you know, how much remaining payload do I have on my truck? That's the big question. So again, I'll talk about that in a future video, but the weight on the scale was right where I expected it to be, so no surprises, thankfully. So far it's going according to my plan, but I don't have any, you know, personal belongings, and you can see the truck is empty. It's just me, and so all that will further increase the payload on the truck. And so we're going to figure out, you know, is this actually going to work? Is it feasible to have a 3/4 ton gas truck and a heavy fifth wheel that, well, right now weighs 12,000 pounds. And guys, before I forget, I just want to say a huge shout out to Cookeville RV and Marine. They are not paying me to say this. This is not sponsored, but they made the process of buying the new RV just so easy. They give you a competitive price. There's no gimmicks, no games. It's a family-owned dealership, and so really like doing business with them. This is actually the second time that I've bought from that same dealership. They have a huge assortment of top-rated brands, so definitely check them out and ask for my salesman, Adam West. Be sure to tell him I sent you, and he will absolutely take care of you. But guys, the purpose of this video, the goal that I want to accomplish, I want to do the best job I possibly can at giving you an idea of what it actually feels like to pull 12,000 pounds as a fifth wheel with a gas HD truck, and a 3/4 ton at that. I want to try to give you the best possible idea. I know a lot of times you're on the fence between, should I go gas or should I go diesel? And I've done tons of different videos in the past comparing everything from fuel comparison to maintenance, gas versus diesel, even resale gas versus diesel. And so I'll include links to all those previous videos down below if you're interested in those topics. But really today I just want to share, what does it feel like driving with this much weight behind a gas HD truck? And so I've got a Kingbolen scanner connected to the truck right now so that I can see current gear along with the RPM, the vehicle speed, and the trans temp. So hopefully seeing that objective data on the screen, in addition to what I'm describing, will give you a pretty good idea of what it's actually like. But let me just start with initial impressions. The moment that I pulled out of the dealer's lot, I was expecting to feel more weight behind me, you know, because my experience in this truck was pulling a 6,000 pound travel trailer before, which is, you know, practically nothing for a 3/4 ton gas truck. And so I just thought, well, I'm doubling the weight, I'm gonna really feel it. And surprisingly, especially with the throttle, did not feel it a lot. Now, in terms of the weight on the back of the truck, the pin weight, it's about 2,000 pounds, a little over 2,000 pounds coming out of the factory. And like I said, I did stop at a scale, a cat scale, and verified that. And so I definitely feel it on the back of the truck with the suspension. It isn't squatting that bad right now, but I mean, I can feel when I hit bumps, it's almost a little bit spongy where I'm feeling the bumps and it's slowly going up and down, as opposed to when it's unladen, it's a lot sharper on the spring rate, a lot quicker to respond. So I definitely feel that. Now, right now we're going up a 4-degree grade. I'll convert that to percent on the screen, and you can see what the gear is. The RPMs are north of 4,000. And so, yeah, I mean, this is really a good test to see what is it like with a gas HD truck. Now, mine is a 2024 model year, so it does have the Allison 10-speed transmission, which I like a lot. But this is really interesting to see how it handles with 12,000 pounds out back. We're starting to level off right now, 3 degrees, 2 degrees, and then we've got another incline here coming up, so we'll see how it handles. It, of course, shifted up, but I suspect it's going to be downshifting again shortly. I can feel my ears popping, so I know I'm gaining elevation. We're back up to 4 degrees. This is a pretty steep section right here. And yeah, I mean, it's keeping those RPMs above 4,000. I've got it set to 55 miles per hour, by the way. I'm gonna see if I have any more bandwidth. If I push the pedal all the way down, nope, that's it. So guys, I've got the pedal pushed all the way down to the floor right now, and that's all it's got, going up a 4-degree incline. So that's pretty interesting. It just went down to 50. Temperatures are staying within the proper range though, still at 4 degrees. And we're about to level off up here. Still above 4,000. All right, 3 degrees, 2 degrees. And now we're gaining speed again, and it downshifted. So that was actually a pretty interesting test there to see that I didn't have any more bandwidth at 4 degrees, and we got another slight incline, 3 degrees right here, back up to 4 degrees. And same thing, guys, if I push my foot all the way down on the pedal, I'm gaining a little bit right now, but I mean, it's not downshifting any further, even though I've got my foot all the way down to the pedal. So this is a really good test to see how it performs. We're still at 4 degrees. And we're starting to level out. And then there's actually a speed change up here, so I gotta back off a little bit. Well, that was pretty interesting. We have leveled off now, 0 degrees, and you can see the RPM have dropped back down and the gear has shifted back up. Speed limit here is only 45, so in a little bit we'll be picking up again. And I'm curious to see how it does going downhill on a similar grade. And one thing I'll mention, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but I do have an aftermarket exhaust. I have the Borla S-Type installed on the truck, and I've had it for about 2 years, and I really like it a lot because it gives you that nice volume, that nice sound when you give it the beans, when you mash the pedal. But then once you get up to cruising speed, it's pretty quiet. But when you tow, obviously your RPM are higher, and so I'm hearing more exhaust. So far, it's not at the point where I would say I want to get rid of this exhaust. On that uphill portion, I would imagine that you could probably hear it bleeding into the video audio a little bit, but it was not obnoxiously loud. It was just, there was a strong presence out back, you could tell for sure. Now here's a more modest grade, only 1 degree, and you can see the RPM are just below 3,000. Not nearly as dramatic as going up the 4-degree incline. And now we're relatively flat at 0 degrees. So this is a pretty flat stretch up ahead. So this is a good example of how the truck behaves on a flat stretch with 12,000 pounds behind it. And again, this is a 5th wheel, so it sits up higher. There's more of a sail effect catching the wind behind the truck. Now, in terms of feeling in control while I'm driving, I don't know about you, but when I'm towing something big, I want to feel like I'm in control, that I'm not being pushed around. I remember about 10, 11 years ago, I had a half-ton pickup truck, and I had a travel trailer that I think was about 8,000 pounds or so, and did a long trip, 7-8 hour trip. And I remember at the end of that day, I just said, something's got to change. That was a very miserable, kind of white-knuckled experience there, where I was constantly correcting. So, how does it compare here with the 3/4 ton gasser? And I'll just say this, I mentioned the suspension, I definitely feel the weight out back. I don't feel like I'm getting pushed around. And I think part of that is with the fifth wheel and all the pin weight being closer to the axle. In the GM here, it's just slightly behind the axle, but still, it's a lot closer to the rear axle compared to a bumper pull trailer. And so it feels very stable. I haven't noticed even the slightest bit of sway, or when semis pass me. I've only had a few so far, but I don't feel like I'm getting pushed around. The steering feels very planted, even though there's a lot of weight out back. I still feel very stable up here on the wheel, so that's good. So overall initial impressions, I would say that I expected everything to feel heavier. From the weight out back to the weight on the rear of the truck, the feeling of the accelerator, the throttle response, and maybe I just had my expectations set low, but surprisingly, it doesn't feel drastically different than when I was towing the 6,000 pound travel trailer in terms of the way the truck handles. I mean, there is extra weight back there, don't get me wrong, I feel that, but it's not as much of a difference as I expected it to be. Now, for all those who are watching this and maybe you're on the fence trying to decide between a gas and a diesel, especially if you're pulling something heavier like I am right now, if I can just give you a little bit of a comparison. Before this current RV that I'm towing right now, I had, of course, a 6,000 pound travel trailer, but before that, I had a 17,000 pound Pinnacle fifth wheel that was 42 feet long, and I pulled that with a 1-ton dually, a Ram that had of course, the Cummins 6.7 liter was the high output. And so, how would I compare and contrast this experience now back to the Ram 1-ton dually with the high output Cummins, arguably one of the best, towing engines out there? And so I'll say this, obviously going from a single rear wheel to a dually, when I think back to what that was like, of course, the dually is going to feel more planted. I'm not, floating around in the back as much. And I'm not saying that it's just horrible, but I definitely don't feel as planted compared to when I had the dually pickup truck. Now, in terms of the weight, that particular fifth wheel that I had at the time, the 17,000 pound Pinnacle, it had a pin weight of about 4,400 pounds. And so I was pretty much maxed out, even with that dually, with all my gear and passengers in the vehicle. It had air suspension, and so obviously that makes a big difference compared to, here I just have the leaf springs. So yeah, I mean, all that does make the experience more premium, more enjoyable. And then just from the diesel versus gas perspective, going up those grades where the engine was, way over 4,000 RPM, if I had the Cummins, it would be significantly lower, maybe around 2,500 or perhaps even lower. And, it wouldn't be quite as dramatic. So I mention all that because when I'm comparing gas versus diesel, within the context of towing at least, I think it's important to mention that the diesel is always going to deliver a more premium experience, always. I mean, the way the diesel engine lays down the power with all that torque, it's just gonna be a more premium experience. It's gonna be less dramatic. You're not gonna see those RPMs go up as high as I do here on my gas truck. So if you're looking for that premium experience while you're towing, then yeah, go diesel. I mean, the gas is never going to be able to deliver a more premium experience when it comes to towing compared to a diesel. So hopefully that kind of helps compare and contrast. I did a spreadsheet about a year ago to compare diesel versus gas and really help explain why I decided to go with with gas, and it has different score factors, such as how much are you pulling, you know, how frequently are you pulling, and how long, how many hours at a time are you pulling, and then those factors get weighted in and at least explain from my vantage point whether I would do gas versus diesel. And you know, as a weekend warrior, I'm not towing long distances typically, and so maybe it's an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 at the most. But back to initial impressions with the gas truck here, although this is not as premium of a towing experience compared to with my diesel with my Cummins, this is still a really decent experience. I mean, I am not miserable by any means. Granted, this is just initial impressions, but I mean, I feel in control, I feel planted. I mean, yeah, the RPMs are jumping, and so it's more dramatic. I hear more noise. Of course, I do have the aftermarket exhaust, and that's contributing to most of the noise there. I don't hear as much up front, it's more out back. But I mean, this is still a very enjoyable experience, and I feel very much in command driving it, even with, you know, 12,000 pounds behind me. Okay, so now we are going downhill. I just passed a sign that said 8% grade, and I've got it set to 45 on the cruise, and you can see, I mean, wow, look at that, those RPMs. I haven't touched the brake though yet. And so there we go. I think the brake's just engaged on the truck through the cruise control. But check that out. I mean, right now the transmission, the engine is keeping me within check. I'm showing 4 degrees, by the way, on the truck's calculator. Okay, so right about 5,000, I can feel the truck is applying the brakes automatically since I have the cruise set to 45. So that seems to be about what the computer will allow before it brakes. But that's still pretty good. Creeping up again to 5,000. Let's see if it brakes again. Okay, yeah, there it goes again. I can feel the truck braking. So that's interesting. 5,000 seems to be the set point on the RPM where it determines, hey, I need to add additional braking instead of just letting the engine transmission do it here. But even here, guys, I feel completely in control. Yes, it is certainly more dramatic, no doubt. Hearing the RPM and seeing them up that high, yeah, that is far more dramatic than it would be if I was towing with diesel. But I never felt like I was out of control or like I was frantically braking or having to apply the brakes more frequently. It did just fine there. We've got another downhill section here, and this time I'm just going to manually apply the brakes. So I've turned the cruise control off, and I am in tow haul mode, and so when I tap the brakes, it's going to try to hold that gear. But I am curious to see. I'm going to slow myself down just a little bit to regain and make sure I'm at the proper speed. So right about 45, and I will let you know when I hit the brakes. 4 degrees is what the truck is reading right now. Still no brakes. This is just the truck, just the engine doing it. We're getting up there, 4,000. And so I am climbing. So it does seem like when you have the cruise control engaged that it's going to upshift or downshift rather more aggressively to help control your speed. Whereas when I turn the cruise control off, even though I am in tow haul mode, it doesn't seem to be as aggressive downshifting in terms of slowing you down. So that's probably one benefit if you do have a gas HD truck in your towing grades downhill. Lock in the cruise control, because I think the truck's going to do a better job downshifting for you to control that speed without you having to apply the brakes. Still in manual mode though, I haven't re-engaged. And yeah, I'm speeding up more than I'd like to, so I'm gonna tap the brakes again there. But at least that kind of gives you an idea of the difference between running with cruise control enabled and without. Okay guys, so quick update. I just went down a 6% grade downhill. That's 6%. I thought I was recording, but I was not, so my apologies. But this time I tried the gear limit mode, so I took off cruise control and just used the column shifter to go into the gear limit mode, and then restricted the highest gear, and that worked beautifully going down that 6% grade that I just did there. The RPM were up in the 4,000 to 5,000 range, and I was maintaining a comfortable 55 miles per hour going downhill like that. I only had to tap the brakes once, and so that worked really well too. I mean, it's the gear limit mode, that's what it's designed to do, right? But I think that's another alternative. You don't want to use the cruise control and have the truck's computer, you know, downshift for you. The gear limit mode really works very nicely, and that way you can maintain and choose which gear is right for you. Well guys, I just pulled over at a rest area to take a quick stretch break. I've got about, an hour and a half left of driving to do, but I want to go ahead and wrap up this video. I just checked the temperatures on all the wheels and hubs. Everything looks good there. For those curious, I did reset the trip meter, and so for the first 127 miles, it shows a computer calculated 7.4 MPG, and that sounds about right. With my Imagine, you know, much lighter, 6,000 pounds, I was getting about 8 to 10 towing it. So given the 12,000 out back, 7.4 sounds about right, and considering there was a lot of grades, that's actually not too bad. But going back to the main purpose, the main goal of this video, to give you my initial impressions towing the new rig. Again, 12,000 pounds dry with my gas HD truck, the L8T right here. And you know, maybe my expectations were just a little bit low, but I was pleasantly surprised going from 6,000 pounds, you know, towing with my previous travel trailer, to doubling that, 12,000. It's just gonna go up even higher once all our stuff's in there. I mean, it handled the load just fine. And at no point over the last 127 miles did I feel like I was having to correct repeatedly or maintain control of the tow vehicle and the fifth wheel. I mean, it handled it very well. Certainly I could feel it on the suspension, and certainly the RPMs got up there, especially on the grades. But yeah, I mean, the truck did very well, and especially that I'm using this truck as a daily driver, I really couldn't be more pleased. Does it tow as well and deliver a premium diesel experience? Of course not. But for a weekend warrior, I do think a gas truck like this can really make a lot of sense. Now I'm gonna be doing a whole lot more videos with the truck and the new RV in the future, so definitely make sure you're subscribed for that. If you're interested in the Kingbolen that I use, the scanner for all the data, I'll put a link down below. This is their latest one, the S608, and it's just an affordable bi-directional scanner, all kinds of interesting stats that you can pull on there. So I'll include a link to that down below. But if you guys have any questions about initial impressions and things that I didn't answer in the video, definitely drop me a comment down below and I'd be glad to answer them. As always, thanks for watching.